Welcome to the Survivor to Thriver show with your happiness expert, Samia Bano. Do you feel stuck, silent, and stressed? Is something hurting your heart and soul? Are you burning yourself out? If so, you are in the right place because this is the podcast people from all over the world join in to learn exactly how to stop suffering and start living with inner peace and joy. Let's get started. Hey, last episode, we started talking about why it can be so difficult for us to forgive ourselves. In fact, sometimes it can be even more challenging for us to forgive ourselves than forgiving others. Today I want to talk with you about another reason, a second reason why this can be so much more challenging for us, why forgiving ourselves can be so much more challenging for us. And this second reason is related to a very simple fact of life. The fact that I cannot control how other people think, feel, or act. But I can control how I think, feel, and act. The big difference, this is a huge difference, right? And in the context of forgiveness, what this difference means is that when I'm considering forgiving others, I cannot make my forgiveness of others conditional on how other people are thinking or feeling or acting, because I cannot control how they're thinking, feeling, or acting. But oftentimes, what we may find is that forgiving ourselves can become conditional for us. Conditional on how we are thinking and feeling and acting. Because we can control how we think and feel and act. Right? Let me give you a real quick example in this context. Let's say that someone's hurt you, right? And you need to forgive them. You need to forgive them because, remember, if you are holding on to your anger, it's like you're drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. But what's really happening is that you're killing yourself. As you keep drinking that poison of hate, of anger, you're killing yourself, right? So now if you say, okay, well, I'll forgive you on the condition that you say sorry to me, that you apologize to me. Well, what if they never apologize to you? You cannot control how they think and feel and act. What if they never apologize to you? What are you going to do? Are you going to continue drinking that poison of hate and anger for the rest of your life? Are you going to keep killing yourself, drinking that poison for the rest, and not for the rest of your life, but like literally, you're going to shorten your own life. And not only are you going to shorten your life drinking that poison, but while you are alive, you're going to severely compromise in a very negative way the quality of your life. Remember, when you're feeling angry, when you're feeling hateful, you cannot be feeling happy. You cannot be feeling peaceful. So not only are you going to potentially shorten your life drinking all this poison of anger and hate, but you're also going to severely compromise on the quality of your life. Now, you don't want that, right? You don't want that. You're listening to the Survivor to Thriver show. You're listening to this show where we are focused on how we can stop suffering and start living with more inner peace and joy in our lives. So it's not wise, it's not a smart move at all for us to make our forgiveness of others conditional on their behaviors or their way of thinking and feeling. Because we cannot control other people's thinking and feeling and actions. We need to make our forgiveness of others based on our own needs, based on our own values, based on our own principles. I have a need to stop drinking the poison of hate and anger. And that is why I choose to forgive you. I have a value. My values say, Samya, be empathetic. Samya, be compassionate towards all. Because all is one, because we're all interconnected, we're all interdependent. So I need to be acting with compassion, acting with empathy. And forgiveness emerges out of that kind of empathy and compassion, right? So I forgive based on my values. I choose to live by the principle of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Love for others what you love for yourself. Treat others as you would have them treat you. I want people to forgive me. I want people to treat me with empathy and compassion and forgiveness. So I have to be willing to do the same for others if I'm going to stay true to my own principle, right? So those have to be the motivations for why I choose to forgive you. And why I forgive you unconditionally in terms of how, regardless of how you may be thinking or feeling or acting. Now when it comes to myself though, remember, we know ourselves in a way no one else does. I know every thought that has passed through my mind like no one else does. I know every emotion that I've experienced like no one else does. I know what actions I have and haven't taken like no one else does. So clearly this very different level of knowledge and intimacy that I have with myself can create different expectations for me with regards to myself. There are actually 3 basic conditions that we may find ourselves imposing on ourselves, or that we may need to meet before we can truly forgive ourselves. Okay? So what are the 3 conditions? Number 1, well, of course, everything begins with, in this context, the way we think, right? It's like I have to first of all recognize at the level of my thinking that what I've done is wrong. If I don't even realize what I've done is wrong or unjust, there is no question of forgiveness, right? So the first thing I'm assuming in this case, the first condition that I'm assuming must be met if I'm going to be able to forgive myself is, number 1, is that I must recognize in my thinking that I've done something wrong, something unjust, something inappropriate, something harmful. Secondly, we remember that causal chain. So the way we think impacts the way we feel, right? So the second condition that must be met if we're going to be able to forgive ourselves is that we have to feel sorry for what we have done, right? Now, if you truly recognize in your thinking that what you have done is wrong, it's very, very natural. It's a very natural consequence that you will then feel bad about what you have done. So far, so good. This will happen. These two conditions will pretty much follow each other pretty much automatically, all right? No problem. But now, what happens? What can happen? Remember the causal chain. The way we think impacts the way we feel, and the way we feel impacts the way we act. But the reality of our situation is that we're not always just having one feeling. A lot of times, we can have a complex mix of emotions that are surging through us. So it's very true that I may be feeling bad about what I've done. And if that is my most dominant feeling, that I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling bad about what I've done, I'm feeling remorseful about what I've done, then the very natural consequence of that is going to be, in terms of my actions, the very natural consequence of that is going to be that I will find myself motivated to take corrective action. I want to do something to right the wrong that I've done, to at least say sorry for what I've done, to apologize for what I've done. Right? But what if that feeling of remorse, that feeling of, I feel bad, I've done something wrong, what if that's not the only feeling? What if you feel bad? Yes, that's true. But what if you also feel really afraid? Afraid of taking the corrective action? Right? Because remember, if you believe that you've done something wrong, if you've done something unjust, and now your conscience is saying to you, oh my gosh, you need to go, you need to confess what you have done wrong. You need to go and apologize for what you have done wrong. Maybe there's other action that you need to do to help correct the wrong that you have committed, the injustice that you have committed. What if that makes you afraid of the consequences? What if that thought of taking those corrective actions makes you afraid of the consequences? What will happen when I confess? When I come out and let people know I've done this wrong? What if they don't forgive me? What if I get punished? What if I lose my reputation? What if I lose, there may be, a lot more than even your reputation at risk. Your property may be at risk. Your relationships may be at risk. It can be very, very scary. It can be a very, very scary thing to do. To go ahead and go out there and take corrective action when you've done something wrong. And so sometimes these fears can become so big in our mind that that feeling of wrongdoing, that knowing that we've done something wrong, it can become squashed. It becomes smaller in comparison to the fear. But see, it doesn't go away. It's like I continue to know that I've done something wrong. I continue to feel bad about it, but I'm afraid to take corrective action. I don't have the courage required to take corrective action. So what happens then? That's when we can begin to feel guilty. That's when we can begin to feel that sense of shame. But it's like, what's stronger? Is the sense of guilt and shame strong enough to make you act even in the face of your fear? Or is your fear so strong that you make a choice, you make a decision to continue to live with the shame and guilt and remorse? So sometimes that is part of what we can find ourselves struggling with, and why it can be so challenging for us to forgive ourselves. It's like we must take corrective action to forgive ourselves, but sometimes we are just lacking the courage to take the corrective action that we must. And as long as we are lacking the courage to take that corrective action, until we take the corrective action, we may not be able to forgive ourselves. So think about this in the context of, what you may be struggling with in your life. Is there something happening or something that has happened in your life that makes you feel that sense of shame, guilt, remorse, and you've been holding on to it and not been able to forgive yourself? Well, maybe it's because you need to take some corrective action and you haven't as yet been able to do so. If you find yourself struggling with this, please reach out for help and support. And you know that I'm one person you can reach out to. Just go to my website at www.academyofthriving.com, click on the Contact Us page, and you'll see exactly how you can connect with me. So until next time, I wish you lots of peace and joy.